Hiraku is a lame, boring no one who is exhausted from life and himself. As he looks forward to death, the god decides to punish the world and reincarnate this miserable existence. This time he decided to help Hiraku and make him a farmer in a remote place, as Hiraku had always wanted, and also gave him a special farming tool as an apology for his previous life. When Hiraku woke up again, he found that the god had kept his promise and given him the healthy body and life he had always wanted. He didn't wait long, and with the help of the almighty farming tool, he started to modify the surroundings. What was most interesting is that he didn't feel tired at all using the tool, which only proves the fact that it is the most overpowered tool in the universe. Now that he found out how powerful he had become, he decided to start his own farm. After exploring a large part of the forest, he decided to settle by this large tree. Here he encountered the first problem. There was no water in the vicinity. He decided to handle the situation like a boss and dig a well. Even this work was no problem for his almighty tool. How it turned into the spade, they were able to find water in record time. Now that he had water secured, Hiraku decided to start cultivating the area. He cut down a couple of trees, and his special tool took out the last one standing in the way and nearly crushed Hiraku to death. Now that he had enough wood, Hiraku began to build his hut, but the sun began to set. He tried to start a fire to keep himself light, but after failing, he stayed all night digging a hole in a big tree. He had thoughts of staying in the tree but was afraid of gravity and decided to cooperate with the laws of the world. In the morning, having learned from yesterday, he started to build a fire, and after his success, he continued with the preparation of the surroundings. He didn't feel tired at all from the almighty tool spell, but he admitted that it wouldn't hurt to eat. Then, just as if on cue, a big, furious hare came running. Slaying this monster was no problem for the Hiraku, who after a quick intervention could finally enjoy the delicacy. Here he discovered that his dwelling needed further improvement because what goes in must also go out. So our farmer started building a latrine and also added screens for extra comfort. After a moment of relaxation, he continued to work and prepared his first beds, while thinking about what he should start planting. But then he remembered that he had no seeds and would have to go to the forest to look for something. So you can imagine his surprise when he woke up in the morning and found that something had grown in his seed beds. This is another super-op feature of the almighty tool. So Hikaru had one less thing to worry about and decided to start building protection against the animals from the forest. He started with the construction of a wall and a moat that would sweep the animals away, and during the construction, he also enjoyed another hare. After 4 days, he began to notice how fast his plants were growing and began to worry that they would grow into decorative flowers, but he trusted his tool and focused on building his smelter. He built it like Legos from precisely cut beams, made the roof out of wood, and also added a temporary floor. This way his life would be a little more civilized. Nothing was happening for several days when 2 impoverished wolves came to the edge of his farm. As a child, Hiraku had a dream of having a dog, so he decided to take wolves with him to keep him company. As he fed them his shard, he noticed that the she-wolf was pregnant and could soon go into labor. He thought about how he could help them and move them to his smelter, where they would be warm and safe even at night. He himself tried to sleep in the hole he had made in the tree, but he was too agitated to rest. However, he was soon relieved in the morning when he saw his she-wolf with 4 healthy cubs. He is very happy and will offer the best meat to the dogs. Time goes on and the cubs do very well, and Hiraku is forced to build a larger dwelling to accommodate them all. His farm continued to prosper, and his first crop of tomatoes grew. He was slowly understanding how exactly his almighty farming tool works. Just think about the fruits and vegetables you want to grow while digging, and the farming tool will plant them. He thanked God again for this gift and built 2 statues in his honor. Since his diet still seemed too simple to him, he decided to expand the farm and start growing fruit, hoping that it wouldn't take years to grow and be lost during the coming winter. As each day grew colder, Hiraku began to gather supplies and prepare for the cold. It didn't look the best with his rabbit coat. It smelled terrible and was unusable, but his wolves decided to help him and presented him with a spider, which in exchange for shelter during the winter and a few potatoes, would help him with the production of all kinds of textiles such as coats, curtains, and towels. Thus, Hikari's farm grew by 1 member again. Even though Hikaru had many animal friends, he felt even more lonely and abandoned after the arrival of winter because he hadn't spoken to anyone in months and missed human beings. As spring began, the little puppies grew into wolves and decided to set off on a journey to find mates. It wasn't long before they came back with the girlfriends they had to fight hard for, something that made Hiraku proud of them. The spider was also not idle and started a family, which meant that Hiraku was the only one still a virgin. As the population grew every day, Hiraku had serious problems with the behavior of all these creatures, which motivated him to expand the farm. However, more motivation will come soon with the presentation of the plot of this recap. When the spider announced the intruder, they all ran into the forest, where they found the girl trapped in a spider's web. She was very cute, with beautiful hair and a decent plot. She used her pretty privilege to sway everyone to her side. However, when Hiraku approached her to offer her a coat, she took the opportunity and took a bite his neck. After that, the girl turned into a super sexy and hot girl with a big plot. However, the wolves pounced on her as soon as she transformed, and after the battle, the girl lost 80% of her hotness and returned to her cute form. She was very scared and explained to Hiraku that the reason she bit him was so that she could restore her life energy since she was a vampire. Hiraku felt sorry for her and suggested that she take a piece of his blood from her neck, but in reality, he just missed her big plot. The girl waited only for this and started sucking. After sucking out all the body fluid from him, she returned to her hot form, which pleased our main character. Hiraku showed her his farm and dwelling, and the girl was extremely excited about the farmer's juicy fruit, saying that she had never eaten anything so good. The presence of another person made Hiraku extremely excited, and he was happy to finally be able to share his things with another person. Lucy, as the girl introduced herself to him, was a researcher and fled to the forest after the nobles wanted to take away her research. She pointed out that the forest in which she decided to hide for a while is very dangerous, and she admires Hikaru as he is able to survive here, asking if he will be okay if she comes to him once in a while. Hiraku saw his chance, telling her not to leave at all and stay with him forever. Lu was very surprised, saying that she didn't expect him to want to get engaged so soon after they met, to which Hiraku asked her to just get married because her plot is all he needs, to which Lu said that she won't mind being married. The next morning, Hiraku had a strange déjà vu feeling when the alarm signal was repeated and everyone ran into the forest again. He was expecting another naked girl, only to find a crying angel tied up in a net. As soon as Hiraku freed her and she fixed her clothes, she noticed Lu and wanted to attack her, but overprotective wolves dealt with her. When they were sitting at the table at home, Lu explained that this girl was one of the angels who went to look for her in the forest, and she sympathized with her a lot after it turned out that they had gone through the same traumas in the forest. Lu then introduced Hiraku as her husband, as her face turned red as a tomato, and the angelic girl named Tia commented that she didn't expect anyone to marry Lu after all she had caused in the palace. However, Lu put everything behind her and offered Tia to stay with them, promising to show her everything. They went through their vegetable gardens while Hiraku prepared salted cabbage, which our waifu liked very much. But this was still nothing compared to face Tia made when she tasted strawberry for the first time, saying that she had never eaten anything better in her life. Lu promised her peaches too, begging her to stay, saying her body couldn't handle it all on its own. The next few days were very calm, especially for Hiraku, as Tia and Lu did all the hard work for him, complaining that they need more help since the wolf family had grown too large and they didn't have time to till all the fields. Fortunately, some of the Zabuton children went on an adventurous journey, but there were still quite a few of them. Tia also decided to run away from her duties, but Lu assured Hiraku that she would be back soon. Her words came true a few days later when Tia returned, along with other girls who wanted to join the harem. They introduced themselves as high elves because they are tall and sexy. If you're wondering why there aren't any male elves, Tia explained that their entire male population died out in a terrible war, and they're now looking for a safe place to settle and repopulate, which Hiraku is great for. And it's also revealed that they are all sisters, and the youngest of them is around 300 years old. which just tells us that this story will have a lot of issues with incest and big age gaps in the relationship. Then the leader of the elves asked Hikaru for help with their problems, and Hiraku could not refuse the new residents. Since they couldn't fit in the village in a few days, the elves and Hiraku built a new big house in which they can live together, and they all agreed that it would be best to demolish Hiraku's dirty shed. Everyone quickly got used to each other, and after a few days, the elves came to thank for the shelter and offered to start mining steel, which they will give to Hiraku as a form of thank you. They built a smithing machine in the yard and made various bowls and ools. Hiraku was amazed at their work, asking how they learned it, to which the head elf remarked that they had become very skilled during their 200 years without a home, and now they would do anything for Hiraku to restore their population. However, Hiraku decided not to start plot development with each of them and remain a regular anime protagonist. As he was checking how his cabbages grew, elves approached him with the idea to expand more and start seeding seeds that will be good for making bread, as they have the best seeds you can find. Hiraku said it sounded great, so elves started making long and tasty breadsticks for him. As Hiraku was enjoying his bread, he wondered whose land he was building on and asked Lu who owned this forest. Lu, enjoying the long plot, thought that it might belong to some demon lord, but since Hiraku is the one who took care of it all this time and built everything here, surely he should be the rightful owner. After they finished working, Lu and the others tried to explain Hiraku's abilities and how he built it all here, even though he knows almost nothing about their world, and decided to continue helping him, while Hiraku thought about the plan for tomorrow and decided to finally stand up a channel he had wanted to build for a long time. As soon as Hiraku's new day began and the elves got to work and started construction, Hiraku built a reservoir to hold the water, and he and the others began to build a canal. Wait a minute, what the fuck is that angle? Elves probably like to bow. And while they did all the hard work, Hiraku filled all the holes and fixed the walls. Thanks to the cooperation, the construction progressed quickly, and the first water soon reached their home. Their worries about watering the plants soon subsided, as they finally had enough water. Zabuton also did his job and caught the queen bee, who also joined Hiraku and started making honey for him. As lunchtime approached, Hiraku killed the fish that wanted to eat him and decided to return the favor. Tia and Lu watched as he roasted his prey and asked him if it was safe to eat something like that. Hiraku served them on a plate, but the girls wanted to taste something else, and Hiraku decided to enjoy it himself. When the girls saw how he tasted it, they decided to give his meat a chance and loved it. The other elves also wanted to taste it, and Hiraku spent hours catching more fish to satisfy all of them. Since water was no longer a problem, he decided to start growing rice. He built 2 large fields and irrigated them with water, and then called the elves to come and try the pool out. Ria was disgusted, saying that it reminded her of that one slimy and wet thing, but everyone ignored her and started planting rice, which grew quickly thanks to the almighty farming tool and was ideal for consuming after just a few days. Hiraku decided to employ the elves and showed them how to collect and process rice. The farming tool turned into a thresher from 1260 BC, and elves trashed and sifted all the rice, which took an extremely long time, and some of the girls fell asleep. Lu thought she could finally taste it, but Hiraku told her they were only 2/3 of the way through. He then took the rice outside and asked Lu to light the fire, which scared the other elves, who were rightfully worried for their safety. However, the rice turned out well, and Hiraku prepared rice balls for the elves to taste. Lu worried that all the work was for nothing, but she fell in love with the rice balls, and the other elves ate them all, leaving Hiraku with just 1 grain, saying that was all he deserved. The days continued with work, and the elves cleaned themselves after a day in the fields, and Hiraku envied their ability to clean themselves with magic that we will never understand how it works. However, Hiraku decided to outsmart the system and build a new upgrade to help him clean up. The plans for the bathroom were quickly done, and when Ria asked if it would not be easier to bathe in the river, Hiraku explained that in the winter, they would freeze to death, and he was making the bath for their comfort and not to be able to admire them naked. The construction started that very day. The first thing they built was a furnace with a chimney made of clay. They secured a water supply and selected a tube that could fit as many of them as possible. Hiraku began to worry about what they would do with the dirty water when Tia suggested finding some slimes that would clean it for them. Hiraku imagined large, dangerous monsters from the games, but Lu quickly disabuses him, saying that no one knows what Hiraku is talking about, and the slimes in their land are peaceful animals that clean up dirt. After this new discovery, Hiraku started cleaning the water with slimes and even added some to the toilet, which no one wanted to clean. As he was preparing the wood for heating the bathroom, he noticed that mushrooms had started to grow on their wood. He was afraid that it was poisoned. Even though the elves explained to him many times that the mushrooms from the forest are excellent, he decided not to risk it and clean the wood. When it was getting late, the bath was ready, and Hiraku came to show everyone how to properly use it. He showed the elves where to remove their plot armor and how to use his special liquid for refreshment. Most elves didn't like it at first, but they changed their minds when they heard the word bodily fluid and were looking forward to enjoying a bath together with Hiraku, saying it would be nice to do it all together. The next day, the wolves brought more new residents, and you guessed it, they were all female again. But Hiraku didn't mind and invited them to join the harem, where they reunited with the other elves they haven't seen for 200 years. Rhea proposed to build an even bigger house for everyone and encouraged the elves to restore the population. The new house was built quite quickly, and Hiraku was mesmerized by its size. Even though he spent a lot of time digging and chopping, he never imagined it to be so luxurious. The house didn't lack a kitchen or dining room, and to Hiraku's notice, a cellar was added to store all the food they would need in the winter. Hiraku and all the elves got their own room, which they greatly appreciated after lacking comfort in the small house, and there was also one room blocked off by a giant locking, waiting to fulfill its purpose. Everyone was extremely happy with the new house, and Hiraku erected statues of his 2 wolves at the entrance as a memorial. With the new workforce, they started growing many new crops on the farm, and Hiraku decided to start with exotic fruits, which with the help of farming tools were able to grow even in a more inhospitable climate. He decided to use the new ingredients to make his special dish, surprising Tia and Lu, who refused to taste his sauce, saying they would rather become food than eat his food. When he collected all the necessary spices, the girls began to use their magic to quickly dry them. The wolves also wanted to help, and Hiraku offered them some herb, but the wolves ran away in fright as soon as they smelled the cilantro, which added more respect points to Hiraku. It took several hours for Hiraku to find all the seeds he wanted, and when he was done, he found out that his shitty ass was not that interesting, and girls got bored leaving him alone. When he was preparing food in the kitchen, he wondered if Rhea was the only one who would help him, to what Rhea replied that her plot is the best anyway, and the 2 of them could manage on their own. Hiraku ignored her as they started preparing food together. They cooked the meat and began to fry it when Hiraku remembered that they had forgotten the most important ingredient in his dish. Rhea rolled out the bread dough into thin slices, and when they made enough pancakes for all the residents, Hiraku's special meal was ceremoniously completed, and all the girls gathered outside to get the food to taste. Hiraku was proud of his creation, but Lu commented after tasting it that it looked and tasted like shit. Tia didn't comment it, but all the elves took doubles, and Hiraku was left hungry again, but satisfied that the girls finally liked his food and ate so much that they couldn't get up anymore, which made him super happy.